Week 27 Day 1. Pinnacle Summit, Peak, Top, Crown. Since the pinnacle of fame and success is often a transient stage. Pinnacle success. Noun C. Usually singular. The most successful or admirable part of a system or achievement. By the age of 32 she had reached the pinnacle of her career. Pinnacle. Top. Noun C. A small pointed tower on top of a building, or the top part of a mountain. Literary. The pinnacles of the Himalayas were visible above the clouds. Array. Arrangement, system. Sense. The president faced an imposing array of reporters. Sense. Array. Sense. Noun C. Usually singular. A large group of things or people, especially one which is attractive or causes admiration, and often one which has been positioned in a particular way. There was a splendid array of food on the table. They sat before an array of microphones and cameras. Array. Verb T. Usually passive. 1. To arrange a group of things in a particular way. A large number of magazines were arrayed on the stand. Arrayed. Standing in a group, before whom were 40 schoolchildren in purple and green. 2. To arrange a group of soldiers in a position for fighting. Obscure. Unknown, lowly, unclear. Sense. Space telescopes are making our obscure planets ever clearer. Sense. Obscure. Unknown. Adjective. Not known to many people. An obscure island in the Pacific. An obscure 12th century mystic. Obscurity. Noun. He was briefly famous in his 20s but then sank into obscurity. He rose from relative obscurity to worldwide recognition. Sense. Obscure. Unclear. Adjective. Unclear and difficult to understand or see. Official policy has changed, for reasons that remain obscure. His answers were obscure and confusing. Obscure. Verb T1. To prevent something from being seen or heard. 2. New skyscrapers had sprung up, obscuring the view from her window. The sun was obscured by clouds. 2. To make something difficult to discover and understand, managers deliberately obscure the real situation from federal investigators. Obscurely. Adverb. The minister's statement was obscurely worded. Obscurity. Noun. The story is convoluted and opaque, often to the point of total obscurity. Ardent. A passion, eager. Sense. The ardent baseball fan went to every home game. Sense. Ardent. Adjective before noun showing strong feelings. An ardent supporter of Manchester United. An ardent feminist. Ardently. Adverb. Culminate. Reach the highest point. Sense. The party will culminate with the award for the most original costume. Sense. Culminate. Verb. Culminate and with STH. If an event or series of events culminates in something, it ends with it having developed until it reaches this point. My arguments with the boss got worse and worse, and it all culminated in my deciding to change jobs. Their many years of research have finally culminated in a cure for the disease. Culmination. Noun. Winning first prize was the culmination of years of practice and hard work. To break the ice. To make a beginning. To overcome stiffness between strangers. Sense. All after dinner speakers break the ice by telling a story or joke at the start of their speeches. A musical. World music reached its pinnacle in the 19th century. Every leading nation produced its share of great composers. There was a bewildering array of national schools and musical styles, as the once obscure musician came into his own. Music became a widespread and democratic art. The ardent music lover turned to Vienna as the music center at the beginning of the 19th century. However, Paris was not far behind, especially in the field of operatic music. As the century progressed, the Germans became paramount, supreme in orchestral and symphonic music. The growth of German music can be said to have culminated with Ludwig van Beethoven. Week 27 Day 2. Constrict, limited, bind, squeeze. Sense. It is imprudent for a youngster to constrict her circle of friends, so that there is no opportunity to meet new people. Sense. Constrict. Verb 1 I or T. To become tighter and narrower, or to make something become tighter and narrower. He hated wearing a tie. He felt it constricted his breathing. If you're going dancing, you don't want to wear anything that constricts your movements. The drug causes the blood vessels to constrict. 2 T. To limit an action or behavior. Too many rules had constricted her lifestyle. Constriction. Noun. See. The constrictions. Limitations of prison life were inhuman. He felt a constriction, a tight feeling in his chest. Prodigy. Marvel, phenomenon. Sense. There is universal wonder when some prodigy appears on the stage to perform at the age of 4 or 5. Sense. Prodigy. Noun. See. Someone with a very great ability, which usually shows itself when that person is a young child. The 16-year-old tennis prodigy is the youngest player ever to reach the Olympic finals. he read in the paper about a mathematical prodigy, who was attending university at the age of 12. See also child prodigy. Since child prodigy noun see a young child, who has very great ability in something, a child prodigy. He made his first professional tour, as a pianist at the age of 6. Bereft, deprived of sense, the catastrophe havoc left him bereft of all his possessions. Sense bereft, adjective after verb formal, lacking something or feeling great loss, alone now and almost penniless. He was bereft of hope. After the last of their children had left home, the couple felt utterly bereft. Falter, flatter. Sense, though he knew well the danger involved, the knight did not falter as he entered the dragon's cave. Falter, verb I want to lose strength or purpose and stop, or almost stop. The dinner party conversation faltered for a moment. Her friends never faltered in their belief in her. Nigel's voice faltered and he stopped speaking. To move awkwardly as if you might fall. The nurse saw him falter and made him lean on her. Faltering, adjective. She took a few faltering steps. This legislation is designed to stimulate the faltering economy. Falteringly, adverb. Exultation, triumphant, joy, overwhelm. Sense, she was filled with exultation when she learned her Saturday score was near the maximum. Sense, exult, verb I formal, to express great pleasure or happiness, especially at someone else's defeat or failure. They exulted it over their victory. She seems to exult in her power. Exultant, adjective formal, very happy, especially at someone else's defeat or failure. An exultant cheer, an exultant crowd. Exultantly, adverb. Exultation, noun U formal, loaded for bear, to be well prepared. Sense, when the enemy finally attacked the positions, the defenders were loaded for bear. A giant composer, Beethoven was able to free music from the traditions that had tended to constrict it. He was a child prodigy, who held an important musical post at the age of 14. He was a successful concert pianist, but when his health began to fail he turned to composing. Even though bereft of hearing at the age of 49, he did not falter in his work. Some of his later compositions reflect his sadness with his physical condition, but they also indicate an exaltation about man and life. Week 27, Day 3. Vitriolic, biting, burning. Sense, the vitriolic language used by critics of the new play tended to obliterate, erase its good quality. Sense, vitriol, noun U fierce hate and anger expressed through severe criticism. He is a writer who has often been criticized by the press but never before with such vitriol. Vitriolic, adjective. He launched a vitriolic attack on the Prime Minister, accusing him of shielding corrupt friends. Vitriolically, adverb. Invective, insulting, abuse of speech. Sense, it is difficult to keep invective out of our discussion about the enemy. Sense, invective, noun U formal, criticism that is very forceful, unkind and often rude. A stream of invective from some sectors of the press continues to assail the government. Besmirch, stain, dim the reputation. Sense, the candidate tried to besmirch his opponent's record. Sense, besmirch, verb T literary, to say bad things about someone, to influence other people's opinion of them. His accusations were false, but they served to besmirch her reputation. Voluminous, bulky, large. Sense, one has to be amazed at the voluminous amount of information that can be stored on a computer chip. Sense, voluminous, adjective formal, when a voluminous piece of clothing is large and consists of a lot of cloth. Her voluminous silk dress billowed out behind her. 2. A voluminous piece of writing is long and detailed. Have you read McClellan's voluminous account of his life and work? Retrospect, looking backward. Sense, in the future we will, in retrospect, regard today's bizarre behavior as quite ordinary. Sense, retrospect, noun. In retrospect, thinking now about something in the past. In retrospect, I think my marriage was doomed from the beginning. I'm sure my university days seem happier in retrospect than they really were. Retrospection, noun U, a time, mood of retrospection. Retrospective, adjective, relating to or thinking about the past. A retrospective album of solo Freddie Mercury tracks. Retrospective, noun. See a show of the work an artist has done in their life so far. A Hockney retrospective, a retrospective of Hockney's work retrospectively. Adverb, retrospectively, I can see where we went wrong. To bring down the house to cause great enthusiasm. Sense, popular entertainers can be counted on to bring down the house at every public performance. A worthy successor. A successor to Beethoven was Johannes Brahms. Also a prodigy, He was the object of vitriolic attacks by other composers, because of the individuality of his work. They heaped invective upon him for the intensely emotional quality and Germanic style of his writings. However, it was impossible to besmirch his talents for long, and he was soon one of the most popular composers in Europe. He produced voluminous varieties of compositions. Today, in retrospect, his originality is appreciated, and he is placed among the top Romantic composers. Week 27 Day 4. Egotist, a vain, conceited person. Since, however, we should not be surprised that an award winner is an egotist about his or her performance, since ego noun see plural egos when mainly disapproving your idea or opinion of yourself, or a great feeling of your own importance and ability. That man has such an enormous ego. I've never known anyone so full of themselves. I'm glad she got the job. She needed something to bolster her ego, give her confidence. See also alter ego, superego. 2. Specialized in psychoanalysis, the part of a person's mind which tries to match the hidden desires of the part of unconscious mind with the demands of reality. Egocentric, adjective mainly disapproving, describes someone who is selfish, thinking only of themselves. Babies are entirely egocentric, concerned only with when they will next be fed. Egocentrically, adverb mainly disapproving, egocentricity noun you mainly disapproving, egomania noun you disapproving, when a person considers themselves to be very important and able to do anything that they want to do. Egomaniac, show phonetics noun see disapproving, a person who considers themselves to be extremely important and able to do anything that they want to do. Egotism, show phonetics noun you also egoism, disapproving, the tendency to think only about yourself and consider yourself better and more important than other people. Finding herself world famous by the time she was 18 only encouraged the actress's egotism. Egotist, show phonetics noun see also egoist, disapproving, a person who considers themselves to be better or more important than other people. Politicians are notorious egotists. Egotistic, egotistical, show phonetics adjective humility, humiliate, humiliation, humbleness, modesty, meekness. Since we all expect humility from the actors and actresses who win the Academy Award, sense humility noun you the quality of not being proud because you are aware of your bad qualities. He doesn't have the humility to admit when he's wrong. They might be very rich, but it wouldn't hurt them to show a little humility. Pungent, sharply stimulating, stipulate, biting. Sense the pungent odor of burning leaves marks the autumn season. Sense pungent, adjective one describes a very strong smell or taste, sometimes one that is unpleasantly strong. The pungent whiff of a goat. I sat down to a cup of wonderfully pungent Turkish coffee. 2. Literary, describes speech or writing that is very strongly felt. Pungent, criticism, commentary. Pungently, adverb pungency noun you the cheese is very in pungency. Inveterate, habitual, firmly established. Sense doctors agree that it is imperative, commend that inveterate smokers give up that imprudent habit. Sense inveterate, adjective usually disapproving, an inveterate liar, gambler, etc. someone who does something very often and cannot stop doing it. I never trust anything he says. The man's an inveterate liar. Adamant, unyielding, inflexible. Sense the umpire was adamant about his decision to call the runner out. Adamant, adjective unwilling to be persuaded to change an opinion or decision. She was adamant about becoming a dancer. I've told her she should stay at home and rest, but she's adamant that she's coming. Adamantly, adverb, the mayor is adamantly opposed to any tax increase. To pull one's weight, to do a fair share of the work. Pull one's weight, do one's share in a common task. Bob has never pulled his weight, and we all have to work harder to make up for his laziness. Since everyone in a pioneer family had to pull his or her own weight. Gruff but likable in his private life, Brahms was considered by his friends as an egotist. He had an extremely lofty opinion of himself and his talents. He was not noted for his humility. Along with this quality, Brahms was known for his pungent sense of humor. While his closest friends could accept his biting jokes, others found him difficult to warm up to. Brahms was an inveterate stay-at-home. Cambridge University conferred an honorary degree upon him, but he was adamant about staying at home, and did not go to receive the honor. Despite the ardent and romantic nature of his music, Brahms never found the right girl, and remained single throughout his life. Week 27 Day 5. Hot enough for you? In retrospect, the year 1990 was a year of record high temperatures across the United States. The cause of this problem is complex. There are many proposed explanations, from an increase of population to the greenhouse effect. If, in fact, temperatures are continuing to rise as a result of human activity, there should be an ardent search for the causes and the cures. Scientists are looking into even the most obscure aspects of modern society, to determine what might be the long-range effects of our activities. They hope that investigations will culminate in a program to change the harmful ways we contribute to a dangerous trend. A small increase in the Earth's temperature will lead to major difficulties for everyone. We should not falter in our efforts to avoid such disasters. Null.